Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I beg to move that leave be given to bring in a bill to make provision about freedom of expression in relation to religion or belief systems and for connected purposes. Madam Deputy Speaker, I do not believe that Muhammad was a prophet sent by God. I do not accept the instructions he said he received from the Archangel Gabriel. I do not accept that the sunnah, or body of Islamic laws, has any relevance to me. I respect the religious beliefs of others, but I do not mind if Muhammad is satirised, criticised or mocked. I'm not a Muslim, and I choose not to live by the moral codes set out by Islam. I'm a Christian, and I should make clear that I don't think anybody should be prosecuted for satirising, criticising or mocking Jesus either. England and Wales abolished blasphemy laws in 2008, and Scotland abolished them in 2021. But even then, those laws had not been used for decades. The last blasphemy trial took place in 1977, and the state hasn't brought a public prosecution for blasphemy in more than a century. But now blasphemy laws are back. I've been advised not to refer to two high-profile cases of people being arrested, charged and prosecuted for causing harassment, alarm or distress to Muslims or even nonsensically to Islam itself. The issue is the way Sections 4 and 5 of the Public Order Act 1986 are being used, far beyond the intent of Parliament, to police what we can and cannot say about Islam. The long title of the Act makes clear its purpose was to abolish some common law and statutory offences to make way for new offences relating to public order. Nowhere in the second reading debate from 1986 did anybody raise the need to protect religions or followers of religions from offence. The context of the Act was football hooliganism and the riots in Brixton and Broadwater Farm. It's true that Part 3 of the Act created new offences relating to racial hatred, and this was amended to include religious hatred by the Racial and Religious Hatred Act 2006. But in Part 3, in Section 29J, to which we will return, the Public Order Act says, "Nothing in this part shall be read or given effect in a way which prohibits or restricts discussion, criticism or expressions of antipathy, dislike, ridicule, insult or abuse of particular religions or the beliefs or practices of their adherents." We can therefore be confident that the Public Order Act, even as amended, was never intended to become a blasphemy law. This obvious conclusion is reinforced by the fact that the controversies regarding blasphemy and Islam in this country began 2 years after its introduction, in 1988, with the publication of the Satanic Verses. Since that year, and the protests and fatwa against Sir Salman Rushdie, our public conversation about Islam has been limited through a mixture of self-censorship and more official restrictions, such as the definition of Islamophobia accepted by many public bodies. These restrictions are motivated not by a desire to avoid offence, consider the criticism and mockery made of other religions, but fear of a violent response by those who are offended. Some say public order offences are not the same as a blasphemy law, and that it can be legitimate to prosecute somebody for saying something that might cause wider disorder. Perhaps in some circumstances, this may be so. But we should interrogate this line of thinking. First, the Crown Prosecution Service gave the game away by charging one man with causing distress to the religious institution of Islam, which is pretty much the dictionary definition of blasphemy. But second, twisting the law to make a protester responsible for the violent reaction of those who will not tolerate the opinions of others is wrong. It destroys our freedom of speech. Some argue that while this may be regrettable, it's now an unavoidable consequence of the multicultural society in which we live today. By this logic, the state must police the boundaries between different ethnic and religious groups to avoid disorder. But we should be clear that this means state intrusion and a loss of liberty on some occasions, and mob rule on others. This is the very essence of the two-tier policing row we have seen recently. Rough justice for those belonging to identity groups that play by the rules, and freedom from justice for those belonging to groups willing to take to the streets and threaten violence. This is the logic of using the Public Order Act to prohibit us from saying what we like about a religion. A person may be found guilty because of the violent reaction of those offended by their actions. From Sir Salman Rushdie to the Batley teacher still in hiding with his family, the threat of violence is what lies behind these new blasphemy laws. Perhaps we should not be surprised. There are at least 14 Muslim-majority countries where the penalty for blasphemy or apostasy is death, and we have significant diaspora populations from many of them. With the number of people coming here, with the number of people here who came from these countries growing, and the increasing assertiveness of organised political Islam in Britain, this is a problem that seems likely to only get more severe. But the answer is not to surrender to the mob. It is to hold the line. It would send the strongest powerful message from this place, where political power legitimately and democratically resides, that this country will not tolerate intimidation, violence or censorship, that there will be no special treatment here for Islam, and there will be no surrender to the thugs who want to impose their beliefs and culture on the rest of us.
Yeah.